Okay, so the recording has started. So I welcome everybody to today's class, where we're going to be talking, where we're going to be introducing the concept of JavaScript language to us after we've learned about HTML and CSS from previous classes, right? So the first thing I was trying to say is that what is JavaScript? So JavaScript is a high-level object-oriented multi-paradigm programming language programming language. So those are big words. So let us try and break it down. So when I say a language is high level, it's a high level programming language. What do I mean? Normally, programming languages are divided into two. We have low level and high level programming languages. Low level programming languages make use of assembly code and binary code in order to create instructions for the computer to follow. So it's not really readable by human beings, and it's quite complex. It's quite complex. So and we need to worry about a lot of stuff like memory management and all that. But in high level languages make it easier for human beings to understand and read and to learn. And we don't have to worry about complex stuff like memory management and so on. Then I also mentioned object-oriented languages. So why do I say that JavaScript is object oriented? It's because it's based on objects for storing most kinds of data. So it makes use of something called objects, which we are going to be talking about later. Then it is also multi-paradigm, which means that we can make use of different styles of programming. We can use imperative programming styles and functional programming styles. Then it is a programming language, as we all know, which is used to instruct the computer to perform certain operations and do certain things. So that is what JavaScript is. So yeah, I don't know. Does anybody have any questions so far? So that is what is JavaScript. Okay, Jethro.
Good morning, sir. You made mention of high-level multi-paradigm, and I did not get the second one, please. So if you can go through it again.
Okay,
So
the
that
multi-paradigm,
no, you said it is high-level multi-paradigm, and there is one.
object oriented.
Okay, okay. If
Yeah.
you can go through it, please, that'll be
Okay,
great.
I should go through the object oriented.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so object oriented means that it is based on objects for storing most kinds of data. So JavaScript makes use of objects, and we're going to be talking more deeply about objects in the coming weeks. So that's what object-oriented programming is. Exactly.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So I think Rufai raised her hand. Rufai Usman.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, please, I said, can you please, like, take it easy, please? Like, I'm thinking you
Okay.
are going too fast, please.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so do you want me to go over the definition I made?
Yeah, please.
Okay, I said that JavaScript. What we're trying to define what JavaScript is. So JavaScript, I said that JavaScript is a high level object oriented multi-paradigm programming language. So I'm trying to define what high level means, object oriented, and multi-paradigm means. So the first thing is that JavaScript is a high level programming language. Programming languages are typically divided into two, where we have low level and high level programming languages. So for low level makes use of something called assembly code and binary code, which is quite complex to understand for humans. And there are a lot of complex processes that we have to put into consideration when building with low level languages, right? But in high level languages is easier for human beings to understand, such as JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. They make use of things like mnemonics and English. So you can easily read through it, unlike the low level programming languages. And most complex tasks are being abstracted away from us. So that is the difference between low level and high level. The next thing is object oriented. So JavaScript makes use of things called objects, which is used for storing data. So I'm not going to go too deep into objects, because that's something we're going to take a deeper look into in the coming weeks when we study more about JavaScript. Then the next thing we said multi-paradigm, which means it makes use of different styles of programming in JavaScript, which I'm going to talk about later. So that is all for the definition of JavaScript. So the next thing now, what role does JavaScript play in web development? Because so far we've been trying to build web applications with the knowledge that we've gotten from HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So a quick recap. HTML basically defines the structure of our web pages, the structure and presentation of our web pages. It basically helps us to put in headings, paragraphs, divs, sections, and so on. So it defines the structure of our web application or web app, right? Then CSS is for the CSS is for styling, in which we can style our HTML. We can make the background of our divs like blue. We can increase the size of our text, the font width of our text, and so on. That's what CSS does for us. But what about JavaScript? What does JavaScript do? JavaScript adds functionality to our web application. It's basically used for interactivity of our applications, where when maybe we are fetching data from a database and so on. So that's what we're going to be doing in this coming week. So we're going to be going in depth into what JavaScript does and how we can make use of JavaScript in our web applications. Right? Does anybody have any question? Okay, so I'm going to be sharing my screen. So the first thing we're going to be talking about, um Tech. I can't share my screen. I'm not allowed to share my screen.
Okay, all right, let me grant permission.
Okay.
I think you can now.
Okay, yeah. So I believe everyone can see my screen. So the first thing I want everyone of us to do is that in our computer, I want everyone to create a new folder. So I have this folder created, Tech JavaScript. You can name it anything. So when you've created the folder, you can open that folder with VS Code. So that's what I have here. So I'm splitting my screen for both the VS Code and the browser because we're going to be running our JavaScript in the browser. So the first thing I want to introduce you to is the browser developer tools. So how do we access the browser developer tools? The way we can access it by two ways. Either by right-clicking. If you right-click on your browser, I'm using Brave browser, but you can make use of Chrome or Edge. But the two preferable ones, that is based on me, is Chrome or Brave. So in order to access your dev tools, you can right click. When you right click, you see this inspect button here. So if you click on inspect, the developer tools are open to you. So we are going to be making use of the console. What does the console do? This console is used for running and testing our JavaScript logic. So that is what this console does. And this is where we will be working with mostly. So if you want to display data, we display it on the console. And we can also write our JavaScript right here. So let's say I'm going to explain console.log. Let's say I want to console.log, hey, like this. You see that we've written our first line of JavaScript and it console.log hey for us. So this is how you access the Chrome developer tools in your browser. Another way you could access the tools is by hitting Control F. Okay. Another way you can access it is by hitting F12. your F12 key. You click on F12, the developer tools open up to you. Those are the two ways that you can access your developer tools, namely your console. Is everybody clear on that? Does anybody have any question? If you have any question at any point, or you feel like you want me to explain anything again, you can always draw me back. So that's how you can access your Chrome developer tools, which we'll be working on. So the first line of code that we should do is hello world. That is like the first line that when learning a new language, that's the first line that every programmer tries to learn how to do, how to display hello world in their console. So we have this thing called console.log. What does console.log do? Console.log basically writes to our console. So whenever we want to display something to our console, we do it like this: console.log, then open and close parentheses. Then whatever we want to display, we write it between the parentheses like this. So we want to display a string called hello world like this. And if we press enter, you see that it has been console.log to us. Rufai,
Yeah, please, can you please zoom in a little bit?
okay. Is it okay?
Yes, yes, it's okay.
Yeah. So this is how I'm coming. So yeah, so this is basically it, where you could where you can console.log hello world. So the next thing that we're going to be talking about is that normally we can't write full-blown applications right here on the console. It's not be okay, and it doesn't really make sense to write full-blown applications on your browser. So the best way to do it is that you write it in a JavaScript file or in a folder that you can easily edit or manipulate later. So the way you do that is that first, after creating the folder, you open your folder with VS Code. That is the folder you're going to be working on or working with. So in this folder, we're going to be creating a HTML file. So let's call it index.html like this. Call it index.html. So I'm sure you guys know how to scaffold the HTML document. So you hold Shift 1, then you click on Enter. So this scaffolds a basic HTML file for us. So let's say hello like this. So when you save this, you need to open this index.html file in your browser. So we have it open here and it displays hello. So we have two ways of writing JavaScript here. Two ways of linking our JavaScript to our HTML. So the first way is by having an internal script. We have internal and external scripts. So if you want to have an internal script, inside the head, you can have a script tag like this. So it has an opening and closing script tag. And within this script tag, this is where you write all the JavaScript you want to make use of. So we can still come here and write console.log and we write hello world like this. If we save this and if we open our command tools like this, and if we refresh, you see that hello world has been console has been logged to us here like this. So that is how you can console.log in JavaScript using internal scripts. So I think like this. So this is how you write internal scripts. So I think the first thing that we want to do, let me show you how to set up your VS Code. If you notice, we have something called that auto format our code. So you see, if I save, you see that this console.log is indented like this. So in order to set this up, you need to install the extension. I don't know if you guys have been taught how to install and set up Prettier. Have you guys been taught how to set up Prettier in your previous classes? Okay, so Jethro says that you guys have been taught how to set up Prettier. So I will not be going over that again. So that is the basic extension that you'll be making use of. That you'll be making use of. So after so the- so although this writing your script internally is effective, but it can be very long. Maybe we can have a script of maybe 2,000 lines, 1,000 lines. It's better to have like a separation of concerns where we can separate our HTML from our JavaScript. So the way you could do that is by using something called external scripts. So how you do that is just below your body, just before the closing tag of your body, you're going to make use of the script tag here. But in this instance, there isn't going to be anything in between the script tag, but rather we're going to be making use of the source attributes like this. We are going to specify a source. In the same way you have whenever you are linking your HTML to your CSS file. So in our folder, we're going to create a new file. The most common name for a JavaScript file is script.js like this. So script.js is going to be our JavaScript file. And here we can write our JavaScript normally. So if we have console.log hello world like this, and if we save and if we refresh, you see that we don't have that logged value here, and that is because we have not linked our HTML file to our JavaScript file. So for you to link it, you need to specify the source here. So you do /script.js. So this is what links our HTML file to our JavaScript file. So if you refresh the page here like this, you see that hello world has been displayed here. So this is how you can set up your external scripts in JavaScript. So I don't know, is there any questions so far? Jethro?
Yeah, sir.
Yeah.
Most often when we link stuffs, we link it at the head of our index.html file.
Yeah.
But JavaScript, I noticed that we are linking it below, like in our body. So are there justifications to this why we do this in JavaScript? Thank you.
Okay. The reason is because this time we want the entire HTML file to be loaded before the script file is loaded and executed. That is why we put it just before the closing tag of the body element. So that is how we do it in JavaScript. So
All right.
Ruben,
That's cool.
Would it be on the console that our JavaScript is going to be displayed?
yes, because we make anytime we want to display anything on the console, we make use of console.log like this. Is that what you asked?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's it. So does anybody have any other question? So we can keep going, right? If we can keep going, can you leave a thumbs up? Okay. So now, what is the next thing that we are going to be doing? We are going to be talking about values and variables. What is a value? What is a variable? So a value is a piece of data. It is the most fundamental unit of information that we have in programming. While a variable, these are boxes that hold values. These boxes have labels that can be referenced later. So an example of a value that we can have maybe someone's age. Let's say the age of someone is 32. Like this is a value. Then somebody's name. Let's say somebody's name is Ruben, like this. So these two are values that we have. So these are pieces of data, right? So these are values like this. So I know that you guys came across comments in HTML and CSS. In JavaScript, whenever you want to make comments, you use the two forward slashes. Then the comments you want to make like this. So this is how comments are made in JavaScript. Or if you want to comment out an entire line, you hold command or control forward slash like this, and it comments that line out for you. If you want to comment out multiple lines, you highlight the lines, and you hit command forward slash, and it comments the two out for you. So that's how you can make comments in JavaScript. So the next thing we want to talk about variables. So variables are boxes that may hold values. So how can we initialize a variable? So the way you initialize a variable is that we have let first name like this be equal to James like this. So with this now, we can see that we have this variable called first name, which serves as a box for this value, James. So later, whenever we want to reference this value, we can call it by the label, by the variable name, first name later. So for example, how do we reference? What if we want to console.log that first name? So if we do console.log first name like this and save it, and if we refresh it, you see that James has been logged in the console. So this is how you make use of variables. So variables are, as I said, variables are boxes that hold values for us. So I don't know, is it clear? Does anybody have any question about values of variables? What's up, Rufai?
Yeah, can you please go through the variables again, please? Just a quick.
Can I go through
The variables, please.
variables?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so as I said variables are basically containers or boxes that hold values for us. So we have this variable, we're initializing a variable called first name. And to initialize a variable, you make use of the let keyword. And I'm going to explain how the let keyword works later. So we say let first name be equal to James. We can also say let age be equal to 12, like this. So we have two variables, first name, and first name is James, and age is 12. So these are two variables that we've created. And the value of this variable, first name, is James, and the value of the age variable is 12. So that is how we work. So whenever we want to, so we can basically we can have access to this value of James. We can have access to this value of James whenever we call first name. Please, please give me a second. Sorry, I'm back. So, Rufai, is that clear?
Yeah, yes, it's clear.
Yeah. So now that we've distinguished between values and variables, let's look at the next thing that we have to look at is naming conventions of variables. So if you notice this naming convention I use, we have various naming conventions when naming variables or when naming variables in JavaScript. So the first, so let's say naming conventions. So we have camel case, the camel case naming convention. So how the camel case naming convention works is that the first word in the variable name are all small letters. Then subsequent words, the first letter has to be capital letter. So if you have first name, the first word that is first, everything is small letter. Then any other word that is being added, the first letter of every word needs to be capital letter. So we have name like this, which is, so let's use last name here. So because we already have something like that, we have last name. Then we have something like first job. So first job. Let's have another variable called child. We have something called child primary school, like this. So you see that the first word is always small letters. Then any other word, the first letter has to be primary, has to be a capital letter. This school too has to be a capital letter. So that's how camel case works. Another case that we have kebab. We have the kebab case. So the way this kebab case works is that we make use of hyphens to separate the words. So for last name, we can have last name like this. We can have last name like this. Then we can have first name. So in JavaScript, the JavaScript does not make use of this naming convention. So you can see like we have this red underline that shows an error. So here. So we have this error. So we cannot make use of this casing, but it's a casing that exists where you use hyphens to separate the different words in a variable. So another casing that we have is the snake case, like this. The snake case. So the snake case makes use of underscores to separate the words. So we can have first underscore name like this. So this is a snake case. We have last underscore name like this. So this is the snake case. Another case that we have is the Pascal case. Pascal case. So the Pascal case and the camel case are similar, but the only difference is that instead of the first word to have a small letter, every is going to have a capital letter. So we have let first name like this, let last name like this. So you see that the first word, the letter of the first word is also a capital letter like this. So this is how it works. So these are the common naming conventions that we have. But in JavaScript makes use of the most popular naming convention that is used nationally in JavaScript is the camel case, like this. It's the camel case. That is the most recognized JavaScript naming convention. So because of when when I take you and when the other tutors take you, they are going to be making use of the camel case mostly. So I don't know if that is clear. Does anybody have any question? Rufai, is it clear? Okay. So yeah. So that is it about naming conventions in JavaScript. So I'm going to
Sir, which of the naming conventions is the best to use?
in JavaScript, the camel case convention is the best.
Okay.
Yeah. That's clear, right?
It is clear, sir. It is clear, sir.
Okay, so the next thing that we are going to be talking about is we are going to be talking about illegal variable names. So for variable names, we tried the best thing to do is that you need to make your variable names as descriptive as possible. Don't make it very vague. It should be you should try and make it as descriptive as you can. So for example, instead of just writing something like let's say something like let's say, please can you share your screen? Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
So I don't know who commented. I think maybe it's your network, Adetayo. Adedayo, sorry. Mm-hmm. So let's say we want to say name like this. So let's say name is Ruben. Then we'll now put another. Then we'll now have another name too. We'll say Jane. So these variable names are not very descriptive. We don't really know what the names are. So you can just say so instead of saying name one, name two, you can say first student. First student. So you have Ruben like this. You say let second student, or you say first best student, second best student is equal to Jane. So you see that this variables, these two variables are very descriptive. It's probably your network. Okay. So you see that these two variables are very, very descriptive. Unlike this second variable where we just see name one and name two. So whenever you try to create variable, try and make it as descriptive as possible so that when people are reading your code, they can easily know what this variable is all about. You get. So yeah. Then we also have some illegal variable names that you can use. For example, variable names are not supposed to start with numbers. So we have maybe a variable name called 3 years like this is equal to 3. So you see that variable names cannot start with a number, but they can start with either dollar or you can put an so you can either use dollar or underscore to start a variable, but it cannot start with numbers. So and variables cannot have and in between them. Year one like this. This is not a valid variable name. You can also not use hyphen in your variable names, but you can put numbers in between like this. Then you cannot make use of special. There are some reserved keywords in JavaScript you cannot use as variable names. Example, you cannot say let function. Function cannot be a variable name because we use function in JavaScript very well. Then also things like maybe I think objects or class. So there are just some reserved. Okay, new things like new. New is also a reserved JavaScript keyword that you cannot use as a variable name. So as we progress throughout this phase of your learning, you come into contact with what you can use and what you cannot use as variable names. So you don't really it's not something that you have to worry about. It's something that you practice, you will know what variable names to use and not use. And luckily, your code editor is going to show you errors whenever you make mistakes. So it's easier for you to edit with time. So I don't know, is that clear? Does anybody have any question? Mhm. So since no one has question, we can move on to the next thing. So also for illegal variable names, you are not meant to create variable names starting with capital letter. Like let's say name like this. So name should be John. Although you can actually do it like this, but in JavaScript we use this type of syntax for creating things called classes. So whenever you are starting a variable name, the variable name should start with a small letter. That is why we advise the use of a camel case naming convention. So that is how you can. So that is one thing. Then I was going to say something. So yeah, so try and be very descriptive with your variable names. So let's talk about the different types of declarations we can have for variables. So we've already learned how to declare our variables already. So let's say favorite meal like this be equal to um jollof like this. You notice that at the end of each line in my JavaScript, I put this semicolon. I type out this semicolon. So this semicolon is used in JavaScript to mark the end of a line. So it is actually optional. So depending on how your VS Code is set up, when you automatically save, it can automatically impute the semicolon for you. So, but it's good practice to always put a semicolon at the end of each line in your JavaScript. So, so this is how you can declare and initialize a variable, right? If the variable, but we have instances where maybe the variable does not have a value yet. So what you could do is that you could just say what you could just do is that you could just leave it like this. Let favorite meal. You can leave it like this. So at this point, the favorite meal does not have a value. So it is set at undefined initially. Set at undefined initially. So, but if later in the line we want to give favorite meal a value, how we will do it is that we will come down here and favorite meal, we'll set favorite meal to be equal to, let's say, let's say meat pie, like this. So when we console.log favorite meal, and so I think we should remove this. When we console.log favorite meal, you see that meat pie is meat pie is declared like this. We can also still come down here and reassign this favorite meal to another value. We can say favorite meal should be equal to beans. So if we save this, you see beans is being logged because it's going to take the latest value of that variable, and the latest value is beans. So that's how you can initialize a variable in JavaScript. Also, this this also works for, let's say let child school be equal to let's say new age primary school. So also like this, we can we can give this child school a new value down the line because it is easily mutable. So you can still come down here and say child school should be equal to um, new um, should be equal to new JavaScript school like this. So this is how we can give our variables new values down the line. So if we save this and we refresh, so I've not console.log this. So if we console.log child school like this, you see that we have new JavaScript school right here. So that is how you can make use of variable declarations and redeclarations in JavaScript. So is there any questions so far? If I
Yes, sir. I said before initiating a code in JavaScript,
yeah,
every time must we like input our console.log every time when we initialize it before initializing the code.
must you console.log what?
Yeah, yes, like this thing, for example, now the chat school you mentioned now. After like what do I want to say? Oh, okay, when talking about that child school, you know you mentioned the name of the child school. So
Okay.
must we input that console.log before it shows in our console?
Yes, because
Okay, okay.
the console.log is what tells the browser to say, oh, I want to see the value of this in my console.log. You get.
All right.
So it's just used for testing and running your code.
Okay,
So that's
okay.
what displays it here.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, somebody raised Jethro, you also raised your hand.
Yes, sir. I noticed that in declaration, in variables declaration, we always declare the value within a double quote parenthesis. Now, if we don't declare it in double parenthesis, is it going to show us an error, or can we use single quotes?
Okay, so I'm going to be talking more about that when we talk about variable types. So that is actually a string. So for strings, you can either make use of double quotes or single quotes. It's still the same thing. So if we change this to a single quote like this, it's still the same thing. But I have this setting on my VS Code that changes single quotes to double quotes so that it can be more uniform. So I don't have parts where I'm using single quotes and other parts where I'm using double quotes. So it's advisable that you stick to one. So if you want to use single quotes, you use single quotes throughout. If not, you use double quotes throughout. So yeah. So I'll be talking more about strings later today. So goodness.
Sorry, sir. Please, can we know how you changed it? Like how you set your VS code so that we also do our own like that? Please.
Okay. Right now I did this a long time ago, maybe like 2 years ago. So I'm not really sure on how to do that. But I'm going to like check it out and maybe I will send it to the group chat so that you guys can see how to do it. But I can't really think of it right now off the top of my head. So yeah. So that's how, so is there any other question?
Lisa, can you like just do a rough review of everything you've said? Maybe just 2 minutes.
Or everything I've said today.
Yeah, just rough review.
Oh yeah now. So the first thing we talked about today is that we are trying to introduce JavaScript to us. So we're starting off with JavaScript and learning how we're introducing JavaScript to us because that's what we're going to be doing for the next couple of weeks. So we talked about how JavaScript is used to provide functionality to our web applications and how we can use JavaScript to do to do multiple things in our application, such as fetching data and performing operations. So the next thing we did is that we learned how to set up our JavaScript environment. So how to set that up is that we create a folder in our computer. We call it anything. And in our folder, we create two files. We create an index.html file and a script.js file. So in the index.html file, we scaffold a new HTML file like we've learned before in previous this thing, in previous classes where you were taught about HTML. So we are going to be making use of a external JavaScript file. We're going to be making use of an external JavaScript file. So how you could do that is that inside your body tag, you have this script tag like this. Then you have to set in an SRC or source attribute, which is going to lead to the script.js file that we've created. So /script.js. So this makes sure that our index.html is aware of our JavaScript file. So how do we run our application? So after creating the files, you open your index.html file in your browser, right? Then we have something called the browser developer tools. This is where we can test. This is where we can build and test our application that we are building. So how do we access the Chrome developer tools? You can just right click here and click on inspect. Then you go to console. So anything we are outputting to the console appears here. So we learned how to write to the console, making use of console.log. So we are console.logging hello world like this. Then we now talked about values and variables. So we said values are pieces of information. This is like the fundamental piece of information in programming. So we can have values like 32, Ruben, and so on. These are values that we can have. Then we talked about variables. What are variables? Variables are basically boxes that contain values, which can be referenced later by a variable name. So we now created some variables here. So the first variable we created was first name, and we assigned it to this value, James. We also created another variable called age, and we assigned it to this value of 12. So if we want to console.log first name, the way we will do it is that we'll run console.log first name like this. Sorry. First name like this. And if you refresh your page, you see that James is outputted here like this. Then the next thing we talked about is naming conventions. And we said that the most used and the most appropriate naming convention in JavaScript is the camel case. So in the camel case, the first letter of the first word is a small letter. Then the first letter of every other word is going to be capital letter. So we have variable names such as last name, first job, child primary school, and so on. Then we talked about other cases that we have, which are not used in JavaScript. So the most used and most preferred is the camel case here. So we now talked about how we can make our variables very descriptive, in the sense that we need to create variables that make sense and are well vivid. So we said we have these two variables here called name1 and name2, which is not really descriptive. So a better way is if maybe we can have a variable called maybe first best student, second best student, which is more descriptive and is more readable by other people. Then what else did we talk about? We talked about how to initialize and declare a variable. So yes, so that's what we spoke about. Then we talked about how to initialize a variable, and maybe give it another value later. So we have whenever so we have this, we say let name equal to John. So this is how we initialize and declare and initialize a variable. But what if we don't have a value immediately? So we can just declare the variable without initializing it. So this is how you can declare a variable without giving it a value. And by default, when a variable is not given a value at first, it is set to undefined. Then later in the code, you can give that variable a value. So we see later, we set the variable value of favorite meal to meat pie. Then later, we still set it to beans. So that is what we're talking about. So that's what we've done so far in today's class. So is there any other question? Okay. So the next thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about data types in JavaScript. So we have two data types. We have primitive data types and objects. So those are the two divisions of data types in JavaScript. So we're going to be focusing more. So objects are we're going to talk about more about objects later, maybe next week or upper week. So let's talk about primitive data types. Primitive data types are further divided into 7. We have numbers, strings, booleans, undefined, null, symbol, and big int. So the three most popular and the three most common are numbers, string, and boolean. So what are numbers? Numbers are basically floating point numbers for decimals and integers. So we have our normal numbers. So we have numbers like 32, 2.4, 5.6, 0.78, um, um, 0.78, 400, 342. So all these are numbers. These are of the number type. Then we have strings. Strings are basically a sequence of characters used to create text. And they can either be used in single quotations or double quotations. So in single quotation or double quotations. So if an example of a string can be, let's say John, primary one, internet. You see. So long as any piece of text is surrounded by quotation marks, it is automatically referred to as a string, even though it is surrounded by numbers, even though the content inside are numbers, yeah, it is referred to as a string. So we can have 756 like this, 756, and 756 is regarded as a string because it is wrapped within quotation marks. So if we to prove that, let's do something here where we say console.log like this, console.log 756. So we are going to make use of it's an operator we have called type of. So it basically outputs the type of the variable that we want. So we want to see the type of this and the type of this. So if you console.log this and if you check it, you see that the first type is a string, and it is a string because it's surrounded by double quotation marks. Then we have the second one. The second one is a number because this is how numbers are represented without quotation marks. So I don't know if that is clear so far. So that is the difference between a number and a string. So the next thing is booleans. So boolean is a logical type used for making decisions. and it can either be true or false. Those are Boolean values. So we can either have true or false, like this. So if we do console let's say type of true, like this. If we come here, you see that we have Boolean. So it is a Boolean value. So that is the type of true. So Boolean values are basically true or false. And we are going to be making use of Boolean value variable types very well in JavaScript as we progress in the course. So the next variable type we have is undefined, which is referred to as an empty value. So undefined is the default value of any variable that we create without initializing it. So anytime we create a variable like um, um, first job, like this, and we leave it and we don't give it a, okay, we already have something called first job. So let's say second job. So and we don't give it any value. If we console.log this second job, you see that it will return undefined because we have not yet defined it. But if we come here and we say second job is equal to billionaire, and if we console.log, you see that it has changed from undefined to billionaire. So that's how undefined works. It's an empty value. Then the next one we have is null. Null is also an empty value that works differently. But you don't have to worry yourself about null yet. So talking about that later. Then we also have symbol. Symbol 2 is the same thing. We don't really have to talk about it now. It's also used for empty values. Then we have big int. So what big int is basically used for numbers, large numbers that the number type cannot hold. So for example, if we have let's say a number like like this, like a large number, this is it's no longer a number but a big int. So I think this should be okay. We consider log this. So let's say type of, it should give us a big int. I don't know, but you get the point. It's still giving us a number, but it's basically let me do 22n like this, and so 22n. So this gives us a big int. So these are numbers that cannot be carried by the number attribute, by the number data type. So I don't know, is that clear on primitive data types? Does anybody have any question?
Sir, please, can you come again? My network was glitching earlier.
You said what?
My network was glitching earlier. Please, can you come again?
So where did you stop?
The primitive data types.
So I said that for primitive data types, we have 7 primitive data types. The first one we have is number. So number is basically used to hold decimals and integers. So we have integers such as 32, 2.4, 5.6, 0.78, 400, 342, and so on. So these are numbers. Then the next thing we have is strings. So strings is a sequence of characters enclosed by either single quotation marks or double quotation marks. Things like John, primary one, internet, and so on. So those are strings. Then the next thing, so we now use this console.log to show that even if we have a number, but that number is surrounded by quotation marks, it is automatically regarded as a string. So we prove that by using this console.log, where we check the type of 756 with quotation marks, and you see that it returns a string. We see that this variable type is of type string. Then if we check this one with normal 756 is of type number. Then the next thing we talk about is Boolean data types. These are data types that hold either true or false that are used for making decisions in your JavaScript code. So that is what we spoke about, primitive data types. So is that clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Eh?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So the next thing we are going to be talking about is JavaScript dynamic typing. So in JavaScript, we don't specify the data types that we want, but JavaScript is it automatically detects the type of the value that is assigned. For example, if we say let let browser be equal to brave, like this, equal to brave, it JavaScript automatically knows that this variable is of type string. It automatically knows that it's of type string. So that's what JavaScript does in dynamic typing. So if we can later come here and still say browser is equal to maybe 34, JavaScript automatically knows that the type of JavaScript has changed from string to number. From string to number. So we save that. So that is what JavaScript does. It has dynamic typing. So we don't have to specify the type of the variable. But we have another variation of JavaScript called TypeScript, which maybe is going to be taught in the curriculum later on, how you can make use of TypeScript. So that is what JavaScript has in dynamic typing. So is that clear? Then we're supposed to talk about the type of operator, but we've already spoken about that. Then we've also talked about code commenting, how we can comment code in JavaScript. So now let's talk about let, const, and var. So these are how we can declare variables, let, const, and var. So far we've been making use of this let keyword here. So what is the difference between let and const? So for let, you can see that with let, we can give our variables a different name later on. That means we can change the values of our variables later if we decide to. So that means let variables are mutable or can be easily changed. But this is different for const. Const is the same thing as constant, so it can be changed later on. So if you have a constant now, like let's say today, and we say today is 2024, like this const today, we cannot come and say today should now change to 2022. I think CLG today. It's supposed to throw an error. So it says assignments to constant variable. That means we cannot reassign a constant variable. But if this was a let variable, you see that we will not have any problem at all. You see that it has automatically changed to 2022. That is how constants differ from let variables. Another difference is that in let, we can easily say um so we can say maybe let this year, like this. Let this year, we can just say let this year. Then under we can say this year should be equal to 2022. And this will work perfectly. So if we just do console.log this year, and you see that 2022 is console.log, but it's not the same thing with const. We can't say const last year like this and leave it. So whenever you are using a const, you need to declare and initialize it in one line. You can't initialize it, and you can't declare it and initialize it in another line. So you need to do it like this, right out of the box. 2023 like this. So this is the difference between let and const. Then we also have something called var. Var is a keyword that was used before newer versions of JavaScript came out. So but var has some properties that were thrown out. So in modern JavaScript, people don't make use of var anymore. They only make use of let and const. So when writing JavaScript code, you should only make use of let and const. So maybe in future curriculum, we're going to be talking more about how the var is being used. So we're going to be making use of only let and const. So I don't know, is that clear? Does anybody have any question? Does anybody have any question? Does anybody have any question?
Yes, sir. So does it mean the var data type is not widely used like that?
Yeah, it's not used anymore.
Okay.
Not used anymore. So if that is clear, okay, Rufai has a question.
Yeah. Well, are you still going to like later tell us more about var? Like
Yes,
we that we don't know anything about it at all.
yes, we're going to be talking more about it later.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, if that is clear, we can move on to the next thing. So the next thing we're going to be talking about is operators, basic operators in JavaScript. So operators are broken down into three. We have three basic operators. We have the arithmetic operators, assignment operators, and comparison operators. So let's start with arithmetic operators. Arithmetic operators can also be called math operators. So we have basic operators like addition, where we have console.log 1 plus 2. So this is an addition operator, as we all know. 3. We also have things like minus. So let's say 6 minus 2. Then we have multiplication, we have division. So we have 6 times 2, then we have 6 divided by 2. So these are the arithmetic operators that we have in JavaScript. Then other operators that we also have the exponential operator. So that's like raised to the power operator. So normally, yeah, now. Okay, so sorry for that interruption. So if we have something like 2 raised to the power of 3 is 8, as we all know. So if you want to make use of exponential values, you make use of the double asterisk. So if you do 2 double asterisk 3, so that is the same thing as 2 raised to the power of 3. So that's going to give us 8 here like this. So those are the basic arithmetic operators that we have. The next set of operators that we have is the assignment operator. So an assignment operator is something that we have been using before. So we have assignments operator like this. So we have last 2 years. So we have 2022 like this. So the assignment operator is this equal to sign. So we are assigning we are assigning the variable last 2 years to this value 2022. So that is how the assignment operator works. We also have other assignment operators, such as we have an operator such as we have let um, I plus equal to 2. So no, let's say we have something like this. We have let I like this, right? So we say, let me console log this. So we say I plus equal to 2. What does this do? This is the same thing as writing I is equal to I plus 2. So we are expecting, so let's say that it should be equal to 3. So we're expecting a value of 5 because we are adding 2 to I. So if you refresh, you see that 5 has been outputted here. We also have other things like minus equal to, which is I minus 2, like this. Then we also have asterisk equal to, which is the same thing as I equal to I asterisk 2. Then we also have /2, which is I divided by 2, like this. So if you refresh it, you see that all the values have been updated. So for I plus equal to 2, we see that 8 is outputted. For minus equal to, we see that 6. Then asterisk equal to, we see that 12 is outputted. Then divided equal to, so 6 divided by 2 should be, I don't know why this is 6. It's supposed to be 3. So I'm not sure. So maybe it's a bug. I'll look into that later. So that is how assignment operators work in JavaScript. So is there any question regarding the arithmetic and assignment operators? Is there any question? If I
Can you please go through the arithmetic operator again, please?
the arithmetic operator.
Yes, sir.
So the arithmetic operator is our basic math operators that we have in our.
No, sorry, the assignment operator. Sorry.
Okay, so for the assignment operators, the basic assignment operator that we have is the equal to operator, where we assign the variable last 2 years to this value here. Then we have other assignment operators like plus equal to. So for plus equal to, what we do here is that it's the same thing as writing I is equal to I plus 2. So that's the same thing here. We also have I minus equal to 2, which is the same thing as this. So that is basically how the other assignment operators work. So is that clear?
Yeah, thank you.
Does anybody have any other question? Does anybody have any other question? Okay, since no one has another question, the next thing that we're going to be looking at is we also have another arithmetic operator called modulo, which is represented as percentage. So what modulo does is that it basically returns the remainder after division. So if we say 5 modulo 2, what this does is that it's going to say 5 divided by 2. That is 2, right? Remainder 1. So it returns the remainder after division. So we can expect to see 1. So let's see modulo operator like this. So if we refresh our page, you see that 1 is being returned here. So this is an operator that we have. So yeah. Then the next type of operator we're going to be looking at is, okay, if I
So what's that this thing you what's that sign that you used in that
Modulo.
modulo? Yeah.
It's the percentage sign.
Okay. Yeah. I see
Percentage.
it. Yeah, thank
Yeah. So is it clear?
you. Yes, sir. Yes.
Mhm. So the next set of operators that we have are the comparison operators. So what does the comparison operator, what do they do? They basically compare one value to another and they return Boolean values, either true or false. So operators that we have, so we have comparison operators like this. So we can say console.log 7 less than 2. Is 7 less than 2? Is not. So it's going to return false to us. Okay, console.log, sorry. So if we do this, you see that false is being returned to us. So this is the less than operator. We also have the greater than operator. So 7 greater than 2, that's going to return to us true, like this. Then we have other operators such as greater than or equal to. We also have less than or equal to. Then we also have equal to, like this. So these are the operators that we have, the basic comparison operators. So for less than, for greater than or equal to, it basically says that we are checking whether 7 is greater than or equal to 2. So we can see that 7 is greater than 2. So this is going to return true. We also have 7 less than or equal to 2. Is 7 less than or equal to 2? And none of those things are true. So it's going to return false. Then the next one is equal to equal to. Is 7 equal to 2? Yes or no? So you notice that for this equal to, we are not making use of the single equal to. So one thing you have to know is that single equal to means is for assignments. So when we have it equal to like this is for assignments, assignments of values to variables, like this. Then equal to is for comparison, like this. So that is the difference between the two of them. Is there any question? Does anybody have any question? Okay, Jethro.
Sir, so it means that apart from returning booleans, comparisons cannot be used for any data type again.
What do you mean exactly?
Because after declaring, it returns boolean like true or false, like comparison.
Yeah.
So can we, yes. So I mean, is that the functions of the comparison strictly? It does not do anything apart from returning values in booleans.
Yeah, that's what it does. They mostly use it for this for decision making, to make decisions in your application. That's the main use case of it.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the next thing that we're going to be talking about, we're going to be talking about operator precedence. Operator precedence. So what does operator precedence do exactly? Okay. So what it does is that, for example, in our code, assuming we have something like this, console.log, let's say 5 plus 6 greater than 8 minus 1, like this, right? So if you notice, if we come and we refresh this, you see that this is true. And why is it true? So what this does is that it first adds these two together. This gives us 11, right? And it does this. This gives us 7. So is 11 less than, is 11 greater than 7? The answer is true. That is why it returns true here. But why doesn't it check this middle first? Why is it always going to the edges before checking the greater than equals sign? That is, and what's responsible for that is called operator precedence. So which operator takes precedence before which operator? You get. So for us to know how precedence works, there is a precedence table available to us. So what you could just do is that you could just search in Google op- operator precedence in MDN. Once you search it, you will see this MDN web docs, operator precedence, JavaScript. So if you click on it, you can view the operator precedence available. So if you scroll down, it's supposed to be a table. So in this table shows precedence. So it's the same way you have in mathematics, you have something called board mass or precedence, where you have bracket of division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. So for here, we have this table. The operator with the highest precedence is the grouping operator. So it has the highest. And how does it work? It's basically by wrapping it in parentheses. So if you wrap this in parentheses, it's going to take the highest precedence. So this is how you can do your grouping. So let us remove that. So if you come back down here and you see, if you scroll down, you see that we have our plus and minus. I'm coming. Okay. You see that we have additive operators. This has a precedence of 11, and that's where we have addition and subtraction. Then we also need the I'm looking for the comparison operator. Okay, yeah. So you see that the relational operators, you see that this greater than it has a precedence of 9, while additive operators has a precedence of 11. So that is why the additive operators are executed before the relational operators. So is that clear? So is that clear? Can you leave a thumbs up if that is clear? So that is how precedence works in JavaScript. So so that's how it works. So let's move on to the next thing. Okay. Jetro has a question.
Yes, I'm sorry to take you backward a little. I came across something like loose and strict comparison. So I don't know whether you are treating it now or we'll do it later on.
That one that will be later.
All right.
That will be later on. So that will be later on. So let's look for the next thing that we're going to be talking about is strings. How to create strings. So we've already talked about strings, and strings is a sequence of characters surrounded by quotation marks, single or double quotation marks. So if we by single or double quotation marks. So if we have something like let sentence be equal to my name is Oshioke, and I am a front end developer like this, right? So we have sentence here like this. So this is a string, and if we console.log sentence like this, we can have it outputted here. But in situations where, let's say we break down this sentence into different variables like name, like my name, like this, my name, and we say Oshoke, and we have let my job be equal to front-end developer like this. So instead of writing it like this, we want to be able to call these variables inside this sentence. So there's something called concatenation that we have. So the way we will do it is that we will do my name is, they are going to do a plus my name here like this. So this is called concatenation, where we make use of plus the plus operator to, and I am a, then you put another plus, then you say my job like this. So if we refresh this, it still gives us the same thing. But the problem now is that you see that here this is combined. There's no space in between. There's no space in between this and this and this. So to do this, you still have to add another plus like this with a space. We also have another plus with a space like this. So you see how messy it can be. It can get very clunky. When maybe, what if you have like 10 variables that you want to add in a sentence? It's going to be very messy because you need to keep on adding all these plus signs and these empty spaces and so on. So we have something called an alternative for concatenation is something called template literals, where we can both combine strings and variables. And how do we do that? So the way you do it is that you make use of something called backticks like this. So you can find them on the top left corner of your keyboard, a backtick. So this is it. So this is how we can initialize a template string. So the way you do it is that you type out my name is, and in a situation where you want to make use of a variable, what you do is that you write the dollar sign, then you have open and close curly braces, then you write the name of the variable that you want to call. So my name is my name, and I am a, you see dollar sign, curly braces, my job, like this. So if you refresh it, you see that this is better. So it is more compact and more and cleaner this way. So this is what you call a template literal or template string in JavaScript. And this is the most preferred way to write strings that involve a lot of variables in it. So is there any question? Is there any question? Okay, so if there's no question, we can go on to the next thing, which is if-else statements. What are if-else statements? If-else statements are basically used for decision making, where we say, oh, if 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 this, do this, if not, do this. So let's say I send you to a store. Please, I want I'll say that, oh, please go to the store. If there is Coke, buy me Coke. If there is no Coke, buy me Fanta. You get. So those are real life scenarios where you can make use of if else statements. So please, maybe you're my secretary, and I'll say, okay, this customer came. Find out this customer's age. If this customer's age is less than 18, give him this sweet. If he is greater than 18, give him coffee instead. So that's how you can use certain things to make decisions in JavaScript. So one decision maker or decision tool in JavaScript is called if-else statements. So how does that work? So let's say age. Let my age is equal to 34, right? So we have, see the way the if statements work. If else like this. Then we have a condition. So this is the syntax. So this is the syntax for an if-else statement in JavaScript. So let's do, so the condition that we place here is always going to be, when the JavaScript is being run, is always going to try and convert that condition to either true or false. It's going to convert it to a Boolean value. So we're going to say if my age is greater than 23 or greater than 20, we want to console.log. We want to console.log you are an adult, like this. If not, else, that means if the age is not greater than 20, if it is less than 20, we want to console.log you are a child, like this, right? So let me explain how this works. So we have two blocks in the if else. We have the if block and the else block. For the if block here, this if block is only run if this condition is met, the condition within the parentheses is met. So if my age is greater than 20, that is only when, so let me update this syntax. Operation if condition is true. Then this one too. Operation if condition is false, like this. So this is how, so that's what happens. If this condition passed here is true, then the content of the block is going to be run. But if the condition is false, it is going to run the else block, which says console.log you are a child. So if you return this, you see that you are an adult. But let's say our age is 18, like this. And if you do it, you see that it skips this if block and goes straight to the else block and console.logs you are a child. So that is how the if else statement works in JavaScript. Is that clear? Does anybody have any question? This is it. Does anybody have any question? Someone should ask a question. At all, Rufai, do you have any question? Or David?
No, sir, I don't have for now.
Okay.
No, sir, I don't have for now too.
Okay.
Sir, another example again.
What do you say?
Can we go with another example again?
Okay, another example. Let's say we want if I'm trying to give you an example. Can somebody give me an example where we can use if else? Can somebody give me an example from the class? Okay, let's say we have this variable called has cough, and let's set it to true. So we have let's say we have an if statement. We say if has cough, we want to console.log You need cough syrup like this. Else, if you do not have cough, you want to console.log, you are good to go like this. So this is it. So whenever we have cough, so we notice that we did not do any comparison. We did not do has cough equal to true like this. We don't have we not do this. The reason is because we have things called truthy and falsy values, and I'm going to explain that later. But just know that for now, you don't need to do this. You can just do it like this. So a basic understanding is that this this condition, as I said earlier, this condition is going to try and convert the content to either true or false. But if the content is already true or false, because you know that hash is already a Boolean value, and Boolean values can either be true or false. There's no need to do equal to. It's already a Boolean value on its own. That's why we are not putting any equal to sign. So this is an example of another if-else statement. So if we refresh our page, you see that you need cough syrup because the person has cough. But if we set this to false like this, it shows you are good to go here, right? Is that clear? Does anybody have any other question? Okay. So yeah. So apart from if-else statements, we have something called if-else that is more complex. Okay. Someone has Jethro.
Yes, sir. We are using the let keyword now. Can we
Yes.
use constant keyword if we are using if and else if statements?
A constant keyword.
Yeah.
Yes, I guess you can use a constant keyword, but most times you make use of let keywords because we assume that those things can change. You get they can change later down the line. So it's best practice. It's more common to see if else operators operating on let variables. Exactly.
All right. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. So does anybody have any other question? Exactly. So since there's no question, we're going to be looking at the if else statements. So how that works is similar to the else if else, but the only difference is that in this case we have um, so instead of the else statement, we have else if, then we have another condition. So condition two. So this is condition one, condition two. We can have else if again, we can have condition three. And so we can have as many else ifs as we want, but we have to always make sure that we end our else if else with an else statement. So we can have up to 10 else if statements. So now let me give you a practical example of when you would want to use else if else. So in the grading system in universities, we have grades such as A, even in secondary schools, we have A, B, C, D, E, F. So in order for you to get an A, you need to have 70 and above, right? But in case you don't have 70 and above, they will not check. Do you have between 60 and 69? If you have between 60 and 69, your grade is going to be B. If your grade is not between that bracket, they will check again. Is it between 50 and 59? If it is, they will give you C. If it is not, they will check. Is it between 40 and 49? If it is between that bracket, they'll give you D. If it is not, they will check again. Is it between 30 and 39? If it is, your grade is going to be E. So if you don't get between A to E, automatically you get an F. So if any of those conditions are not met, automatically you get an F. So that is how. So you can use that kind of scenario in if else. So let us try and um so let us try and implement this in JavaScript. So the way we could read it is that, let's say let grade like this be equal to 78, or let's say 59 or 57, right? So the way we will do it is that we'll say if grade is greater than or equal to 70, we want, no, let's call this score, right? And let's say grade like this. So if we say if score is greater than or equal to 70, we want your grade to be equal to A, like this. Else, if score is greater than or equal to 60 and less than or equal to 69. So you know that I mentioned and. So we have another operator. We have the AND operator and the OR operator in JavaScript. So AND operator like this. An AND operator is being represented with double ampersand, the double AND sign. Then we also have the OR operator, OR operator like this. And this is represented by a double pipe like this. So you see it, you have forward slash and backward slash. So if you hold down shift backward slash, that is what calls this icon, calls the pipe icon. So how does the AND operator works? So the AND operator returns true if both conditions are true, and returns false if so. The AND operator returns true if and only if both conditions are true. So that means for the AND operator, if we have something like true, and false like this, because both conditions are not true, it's going to return false to us. But if both are true and true like this, it's going to return true to us. But if all are false and false, it's going to return false. So in a way you can relate this to physically is that, and we are saying that I can only give you can only enter the university if you have written WAEC and JAM. You cannot, so since that is the condition, you cannot have WAEC and not have JAM. If you have WAEC and you don't have JAM, you cannot enter the university. Both of them must happen together. Both of them must be true, or it cannot, or it's going to, or you cannot enter the university at all. So if you don't have WAEC and you don't have JAM, you can't enter the university. If you have JAM but you don't have WAEC, you cannot enter. If you don't have JAM but you have WAEC, you still cannot enter. You can only enter the university when you have both of them. That is what the AND operator does. But for the OR operator, OR is just saying, in case you don't have this, it's either you have this or you have this. So for example, if you want to go abroad, they'll tell you, some schools can say you can either have SAT or you can have TOEFL, your TOEFL exam. Either you can have either of them, or maybe even in Nigerian universities, maybe they can say it's either you have WAEC or you have JAM. So in the case where maybe you don't have WAEC but you have JAM, you can still enter in the university. If you have JAM but you don't have WAEC, you can still enter. If you have the both of them, good and fine, you can enter. But if you don't have any of them, you cannot enter at all. So the way this works is that this works that if this is true and this is false, it is going to return true because it only requires for one of them to be true. So this one now, the two of them are true, so it's going to return true. But since both here are false, both of them are false, it's going to also return false. So that is how the so in this one, if this is false and this is true, it's also going to return true like this, right? If this is also false and true, this is going to be false like this. So this will be or. So that's how you make use of the or operator and the and operator in JavaScript. Does anybody have any question? Jethro.
The and or operators, are they the ones regarded as logical operators?
Yes, they are logical operators.
All right, thank you.
They are logical operators. So does anybody have any other question? So I guess okay. If I
Yeah, can you please go through the and or all these thing operators again, please?
okay, so we have two
Fine.
I'm going- so we have two operators that we have. We have and or operator. And or operator. So what the and operator does is that we are saying that I'm sorry. So we are saying that for and operators, the two conditions must be true for it to return true. If one of them is false or both of them is false, it's going to return false. And I gave the example of whenever you are entering the university say you must have both WAEC and JAM. So it's only when you have WAEC, if you have WAEC, that is true. If you have JAM, that is also true. So true and true will give us true. But if you have WAEC but don't have JAM, that is true and false. It is going to give us false because the two of them are, I think, mutually inclusive. One cannot go without the other. That's what the AND operator does. So if both of them, it can only return true when both of them are true. That is how the AND operator works. Then for the OR operator, it says you can choose between any of them. So they are mutually exclusive. So long as you have one of them, so long as one of them is true, it's going to return true to us. So you see that here we have true, false. Because the first one is true, it's going to return true to us. And we also have false, true. Because the second one is true, it's going to return true. So, and if you have true, true, because both of them are true, it's going to return true. But if both of them are false, it's going to return false. So this is just the basic table on how and or operator works. So yeah, does anybody have any other question? Goodness, how are you? Does anybody have any question? Goodness, Ruben, Jethro. So since that is all good, the next thing we're going to be looking at is, so let's complete our grading application. So now we are saying if score is greater than or equal to 60 and score is less than 70, we want the grade to be equal to B, like this. We want the grade to be equal to B. They also have else if score is greater than or equal to 50 and score is less than 60, we want this grade to be equal to C, like this. They also have else if score is greater than or equal to 40 and score is less than 50. Then we want the grade to be equal to D, like this. So we want, then in the last condition, we'll say if none of these conditions are true, then we want the grade to be automatically be equal to F, like this. So this is how it works. So we can console the log, come down here, console the log the grade here. And because it's 57, 57 lies in between, it lies in between 50 and 60. So we're going to be expecting a grade of C here. So if we refresh it, we said we have an invalid. So it says here that we have an invalid left-hand side assignment at line 156. So we need to check, okay, we have errors here. So if we console the log, so if we comment out all of this and we save it, so if you refresh, so you see that, let's say, let's do your grade. Your grade is like this. So you see that your grade is C. If we change this score to like 17, we expect a grade of F. So you say your grade is F, like this. So you see how it works with the if else statement. So this is mostly useful when you want to add more conditions to your statement. So is this clear? It's clear, right? So yeah. So is there any question? Okay, so if there's no question, we can move on to the next thing, which is type conversion and type cohesion. So these are two different words that mean two different things. So what is type conversion? Type conversion is when we explicitly change the type of a variable. Then we have type cohesion. This is when JavaScript changes the type of the variable behind the scenes for us. So we're going to be looking at how we can do both type conversion and type cohesion. So for type conversion, the way we could do it is, and we've actually done it before, is we can see that grade is of type A here, of type string, right? So we can later change the type of grade. And we can change it to, let's say, 36. So we'll change the type of grade from string to number. So, and I'll show you how that is. Because if you do console.log grade here, so type of grade like this, and you come after this place, you do console.log type of grade again. You see that you have output of both string and number. So if you refresh, you see that we have string. It is first a string, but after we've converted it to a number, it changes to the type of number. So that is how we perform type conversion on our own in JavaScript. So is that clear? Type conversion.
Sorry, sir, it's not clear.
Okay, so because of how JavaScript works, like let me just do something else. Okay, let's say we have pets, right? And our pet is a wolf. A wolf. So automatically the type of what is the type of pet here? What is the type of pet if I
Wolf.
no, what is the type?
It's a string, I think.
It's string.
So it's a string. So if we do type of pet here, we're expecting that it's going to return string, Abby.
String. Yes.
So if we come here, you see that string is being returned.
Yes.
But later down the line, we can reassign pet and give it a value of, let's say, 21, like this. Abby, at this point now, what is the type of pet?
No, these numbers now. Numbers.
Number. So if we console.log, the type of pet at this point, it's going to give us what? Number. So you see number. So now we have done type conversion. We've converted the pet variable from a string to a what? Number. So that is what. So this is when we explicitly manipulate the type of a variable. You get. So that is what happens here. So this is what we do. This is what is called type conversion. Exactly.
Yeah. Very, very clear, sir.
So let's talk about type cohesion. Type cohesion is what is done by JavaScript behind the scenes. A perfect example is if we do console.log something like 12, let's say 123 plus 13 like this. Normally you expect to get normally you'll be expected to get what? 135, Abby, right?
Yes.
Because you
135.
are seeing a plus sign. Well, let's check the console. You see, this is what we get. We get 123 plus 123 113. You get. So what this does is that because of this plus operator, it what is it? It coerces this 13 and changes it to a string behind the scenes. It changes it to a string. So that's why it's basically the same thing as doing. So this is what JavaScript does. It just changes it like this. So it concats it to the end of this string like this, and console.logs it for us. So this is how type cohesion works, right? So the plus operator does this. So let's try it with the minus operator. The minus operator like this. So the minus operator now, we're expecting that maybe it will change it to a string also, Abby. But to your surprise, you see that it gives us a number, 110. So this is part that can be confusing for people. But just know that like the plus operator, when you're so for the plus operator, it changes both of them to strings. If you have a string and a number and you are trying to add them together, it's going to change the two of them to a string. But if you have a string and a number and you're trying to subtract it, it's going to addition and subtract is going to change both of them to numbers. It's going to coerce their types to numbers, and that's what happens here. The same thing with asterisks like this. So if you asterisk it changes both of them to numbers. Also, if you run division also, if you refresh, it also does the same thing. So that is how type cohesion works in JavaScript. So don't need to really worry about it. Something that I'm going to see more and more often in the as we go further, right? So another way that maybe we want type cohesion to play is when, for example, you know how you build input form elements in HTML and CSS. So all input fields by default receive strings. You can't specify numbers. So you can actually specify a number, but by default, when you set the input type to text, it's always going to receive a string. It's always going to receive a string. So let's say, for example, we have an input, and let's say it inputs like your birth, your date of your birth year, right? So let's say today. I think we already have it today. Let's this year. I think I'm coming. We already have it this year up here. So let's see. So we have this year. So let's say this year is equal to 2024, right? And let's say somebody types in their birth year, and the birth year is, let's say, birth year be equal to, let's say, 2000. Yeah, let's say year 2000, right? So if you want to calculate it, normally if this comes from an input field, it's going to come as a string. So what if you'd want to convert this string to number? So we're going back to type conversion. How can you convert a string to a number? So the way you would do that is you say console.log. So console.log, then you use the number. There's a number function where you pass in the string. So let's say birth here. So this returns. So let's see the difference. Birth here. So this first console.log is going to return a string. This is going to return a number because we've converted it to a number using this function. So if you console.log it and refresh our page, you see that if you notice in the console, all strings are represented with white text, but numbers are represented with this purple text. So it might be different for your console, but it's always a difference between text and numbers. So the first 2000 is a string. So we can also confirm that by using the type of operator like this. Type of, right? If we refresh it, you see string and number, right? So this is how you can convert it. Then what if you want to convert a number to a string? So the way you could do that is that you can say 560, then you can have dots to string like this. So this is the I think like this 560. So if you refresh this, so if you refresh this, you also have this string method that you can use to convert numbers to strings. So this is also a method you can use for type conversion. Also, we also have another method called pass floats. So in case you have a string like so in case you want to convert, maybe you have a string like this that says 67.54. So you want to convert it to a floating point So let me show you. Let me show you. In case you want to use number, a number function, you notice something. If you refresh this, okay, it actually does that. You can either use this number attribute or you can use an attribute called pass floats. Pass floats. So either number or pass float is used to convert strings to decimal floating numbers or integers. So that is how you can perform type conversion in JavaScript and type cohesion. So is there any question? Jethro.
Okay, for more clarity, that means there are methods in which we can convert data types. Like we have the type of, and then the string, the number, and the is it pass float? Are
Yeah.
those the
But
methods?
type of does not convert to. Type of is
Okay,
just used to read the type of a variable.
okay,
Yes.
all
So
right.
the
But the
methods,
others are methods.
yes.
All
So
right.
number and pass floats used to convert from string to number. Then we have string used to convert from number to string. So these are the two methods available. Then the other one, type of, used to read the type of a variable. So these are the differences between all of them. So is that clear? So does anybody have any other question? David, Shama, Aisha, Fatima, Goodness, Olayinka. Okay. So since that is it, so we've learned about type conversion and cohesion. So a small recap. Type conversion is how a programmer can explicitly convert variables or variables to a variable type to a different type. You can either make use of reassignment or the number, the pass float, or the string methods. That's how you can perform type conversion. Then we talked about type cohesion, which means that JavaScript is the one that converts the types of variables in the background depending on the situation. So that is the difference between the two of them. So the next thing we're going to be talking about is truthy and falsy values in JavaScript. Truthy and falsy values. Good. So what are truthy and falsy values? So truthy values are values that when you try to convert them to Boolean, they return true. While falsy values are values that when you try to convert them to Boolean, they return false. For example, we also have type cohesion for Boolean. Maybe you want to change a number or a string to a Boolean variable. So we have the Boolean function. So for example, if you have this Boolean and we say let's say 0 like this. If we refresh it, so we need to console or log it. Sorry. So if we refresh it, you see that it returns false to us. So what are the falsy values available to us? So the falsy values that we have in JavaScript. We have false, we have 0, empty quotation mark, undefined, and null. I think then we also have NEN, NEN, like this. So these are the falsy values available in JavaScript. So if you try to convert any of these values to Boolean, it is going to return false to us. So if we do console.log type, so if you do console.log Boolean undefined like this, and if you refresh it, you see that it returns false to us, right? So that is how falsy values work. We've not spoken about NaN. What NaN means is not a number. Not a number. And how can we get not a number? The way we can get it is when, for example, during our type conversion, let's say we want to, so nobody even asks, what if we have a situation where we want to call the number function on something that is not a number? Like let's say we want 4ft. So this is not a number. It cannot be converted to a number. So what is it going to output for us? So if we refresh our page, you see that we get this NaN, which means not a number. That means this string cannot be converted to a number. So it returns NaN to us. So that is what we get. So NaN is a falsy value. Then what are truthy values? Truthy values are anything else. So we can have true, any number that is not 0 is a truthy value. Then any string that is not empty is a truthy value. Then so those are truthy values. So for example, let's say we have console.log. I want to say what is the Boolean or so what is the Boolean of, let's say, Oshioke, like this. So because this is not an empty string, this is going to be a truthy value. So if we refresh this, you see that we get this true because because Oshioke is a truthy value. It's a truthy value. So that is how it works. So if you go back to our if-else statements, the way the if-else statement works, as I said before, is that it tries to convert the condition to either true or false. Either true or false. That's what it does. So behind the scenes, what JavaScript does is that it does this Boolean score greater than or equal to 70, like this. So this is what it does behind the scenes. This is what it does behind the scenes. So it tries to convert it. So that means if this condition is true, it does this and so on. So that is the difference between truthy and falsy values in JavaScript. So is there any other question? Is there a question regarding that? Is there any question? Jethro, Rufai, Ruben? So since there's no question, so we can move on to the next thing where we have, so the last thing I'm going to be talking about today is equality operators. So I don't know who asked that question, where he was mentioning loose and strict equality. I don't know who, I can't remember who brought that
I was
up.
the one, sir. I was the
Yeah,
one.
just brought it up. So loose and strict equality. So let's do an if. Let's say if 74 is equal to 74, we want to say console.log they are loosely equal, like this. So if we check it, you see that they are loosely equal. On the other hand, we have another equality. This one makes use of triple equality sign. So if they are, you say that they are strictly they are strictly equal like this. So yeah. So what's the difference? With double equality, it does not check for whether they are of equal type or not. So you can see that this type is of type number and this is of type string. So they don't have equal types. But this double equal to does not check for that. It only checks whether after conversion, are they equal? If both of them are converted, are they going to be equal? If yes, they can say they are loosely equal. But with the triple equal to sign, it checks whether they are equal by value and equal by type. That means whether it's strictly equal. And if it is strictly equal, that's when we want to console.log this. So for this to be strictly equal, we need to put this in. We need to put both of them equal in value and equal in type. So if we come and check, you see that they are strictly equal. So that is the difference between the two. These are the two types of equality that we use. And the and in JavaScript, we advise that you make use of this triple equal to sign because you need to be sure that it's of the same type and of the same value. So it's advisable that you stick to using the triple equal to sign to be strict in your equality. So is there any question regarding this? So Jethro.
So it means for the loose comparison, like there is a data type conversion, or it does not care about the data type. Is there a conversion behind the scene, or it does not?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a conversion behind the scene to check. There's a conversion behind the scene. Does anybody have any other question? Is there any part that anybody will want me to go over from what we've learned so far today? Because we finished with everything that we're supposed to look at today. Is there any question on anything that we've done so far? So today we talked about
Yeah, can you go through that module stuff again?
the modulo.
Yes, the modulo, yeah.
Okay, I'll get back to you, Ruben.
Okay.
So for the modulo, the way the modulo works is that in mathematics we have something called modulo like this. This basically means reminder. If we so let's say we want to divide let's say 16 divided by 3, right? 16, how many times does 3 go into 16?
5 point something, sir. 5 points.
So it goes in 5 times with a reminder of how many?
One.
With a reminder of 1. So in modulo is only interested in the reminder. So when you say 16 modulo 3, it just gives us the reminder. If there is no reminder, it's going to give us 0. So in situations where we have 6 modulo 2, you know how many times does 2 go into 6?
Hey.
Does it have any reminder?
No.
So you have a modulo of 0.
0. Yeah.
So that's how it works.
Okay. Thank you
right?
very much. Yeah.
So if you have 16 modulo 14, how many times does 14 go into 16?
That's 1. So it will be 2. Remember 2 like that.
Yeah. So that's how modulo works.
Yeah. Thank you.
So how are you, Ruben?
in that not a number, is there a way that you can join it together, like the number and the word?
I don't understand.
Go back to your code.
Okay,
NAN.
that is this here.
Yeah. Can
Eh?
you join it?
Can I join it?
Yeah, like the 4 and the FT. Yeah.
The 4 and the FT.
Yeah, can you concatenate it?
Okay,
Like 4 plus FT.
so like this.
Yeah.
Is this what you're saying?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So it will still give us not a number because 4 plus FT, because of a type of conversion that we've talked about before, is going to give us 4FT, right? And we are not trying to do number 4FT. It's still going to give us not a number.
Okay.
Yeah. So is that clear?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. So does anybody have any other questions on what we've done so far today? Goodness, Jethro, or can you guys give me feedback on how the class went today? Do you think that it was too fast, or do you think that you needed more examples or something? Can you I just want your feedback on how today's class went.
Wow,
So
today's class was really amazing. We were pretty fast, and I won't lie. I guess we all got caught up in the classes. Like nobody will say he will not understand. Like, and I just love the way you took it. Like for every step you take, you ask questions, and
okay,
we are following up. It's a good one.
okay. I'll try and slow down in future classes. Okay. So does anybody have anything to say? How the class can be better? Because
Sir,
JavaScript is kind of complex and it's something that you really need to understand. So Jethro,
yeah, sir, like apart from your speed, I think the class is very interesting because I believe you carried everybody along. So I will just make a request that you drop your Twitter handle so that, or any channel that we can get in touch with you, so that if there are anything that we can do, we can contact you if we cannot contact the submentors. So that's just right.
so for my Twitter, so this is my Twitter handle. Um, so at Oshioke Salaki. So yeah. Then my number is available on the group. So maybe you can text me or you can you can send a message on the group chat, then tag me, then I'll see the message and I'll respond on the group. So please try and as much as possible to like text on the group chat because having plenty messages, I'll not be able to go through each of them. So it's better on the group chat. So does anybody have any other observation or question or something they would like to be different in the next class? Or do you think that maybe we covered too much or something? Maybe it's overload. Okay, Judge, if I
Yeah, I think the only thing I will say is that maybe you can just increase the examples you'll be giving to like 2 or 3.
no problem.
Yeah. So that will make it more easier for us to easily assimilate and understand.
Oh yeah, no problem. No problem. So yeah, is that all? So if
Yes,
that's
that's
so if that's all, so this is the end of today's class, and I hope to see you guys in the next class. So for those that were not able to follow along, maybe for network issues or something, be sure to rewatch the recordings and take down notes. So in the next class, this, I'm going to be taking up our questions. So if you have any question regarding what was taught today, you can also text. You can also keep it, write it down so that in the next class you can ask those questions so that we can go over it to make sure that everybody is following and there's no topic that we are glancing through. So yeah, that is basically all for today. Thank you guys for coming.